alleged fugitive kidnapper Carlos Rebelo has told News24 that he'll return his domestic worker's 6-year-old daughter, Eva Tembo, only on his terms. Now, Rebelo has been on the run with this little girl for the last 3 months. Let's unpack the details around the story. Joining us is Aphelele Mbokotho, who is a News24 reporter, and Dr Shaheda Omar is with the Teddy Bear Clinic. She's the clinical director there. To both of our guests, thanks very much indeed for joining us. And Aphelele, I want to begin with you, because you've been in conversation with Carlos Rebelo. In fact, you've spoken to him at his insistence on a WhatsApp call.
Yes, I did. I spoke to him on a WhatsApp call and via emails.
And how did that come about? Because obviously the story has been in the headlines for the past couple of weeks.
So initially I had written a story about, I think a month ago, when the story was in the headlines, and I had spoken to his daughter and the mother of the 6-year-old. And then after that, I was contacted by one of his friends on Instagram, requesting that I hear his side of the story. Sent through my email, and then he reached out via email, and then we spoke via email, and then we took the conversation further to WhatsApp.
Right. And Dr. Shaheda Omar, we'll come to you in just a second, but Aphelele, what did he have to say? What were the kinds of questions you asked him, and what were the responses you were getting?
So I asked him if the 6-year-old Eva was okay, and he said that he was doing well, but wanted to come home. Then I requested that I speak to Eva, which he allowed me to speak to the 6-year-old, and we had a brief conversation. Thereafter, I also asked about their whereabouts, and he refused to tell me where they exactly are in South Africa, but confirmed that they were exactly in South Africa.
So you spoke to Eva, and what did she say? How did she sound? I know that's a difficult question to answer. There's not much that you can tell. Often when children speak on the phone, they don't sound like themselves. But to you, how did she sound?
So she sounded a bit subdued, like a bit calm downish. I don't know how to describe it, but around there. So I asked her how she was doing, and she said fine. She was giving me one-word answers, and I kept prying. So I was like, how's things that side? And she was like, it's fine. And then that's when the Carlos Rebelo took over.
And has Eva's mother been able to have that kind of WhatsApp conversation or call with her on the number that you were provided?
No, Eva's mother told me that Carlos had blocked her and that she has not spoken or seen her daughter in the past 3 months.
And obviously after you had that conversation with him, you alerted the police, Aphelele. Dr. Shaheda Omar, the details around the story are just so completely baffling. And perhaps, one of the things that is so confusing insofar as the story is concerned, as Aphelele has reported, is that back in June, the Children's Court actually awarded custody to Carlos Rebelo because he told them that he paid her school fees and, in fact, was her primary caregiver. What do you make of that?
Well, I think, of course, the courts follow due diligence in terms of caring, protection, safety, maintenance. Under those circumstances and the information that was provided to the court, they responded according to that. But I think subsequent to that, the child was then, the mother obviously took action, yes, and the child was then ordered to be returned to the mother's care. And I think that is of grave concern. The initial response by the court, one can understand and appreciate that the court acted in response to the information given to them. But the Carlos Rebelo has certainly now violated all, legal processes and is certainly not promoting the best interests of the child. When Aphelele said that the child responded in monosyllables, I think, again, that is something that speaks to ambivalence here. When we speak about ambivalence, yes, the child has had a long-standing relationship with Carlos Rebelo. However, that does not exclude the fact that she is not longing for contact with her mother. And that's probably, something that she cannot understand or process or make sense of why she has been deprived of this contact or denied of this contact. So obviously there are underlying emotions there in this child, anxiety, fear, worries, concerns. And I think that is something that needs to be addressed, that it's certainly not in the best interest of the child, and more stringent measures need to be taken to, of course, get to this child and return her to the care of her mother.
Absolutely.
We're not sure what Carlos has been telling the child as well, because he could be providing inappropriate, incorrect information, inaccurate information that the mother does not want the child, or whatever. One can speculate on what he's been doing to this child, coaching her, contaminating things. So it is of grave concern that this child comes back into a stable environment. Being on the run is not stability for the child. It's not safe. It's not certainly protecting the child.
Absolutely. Are you not concerned, though, Dr. Omar, about the fact that, according to this News 24 article, Eva's mother fought back, and the same court granted her and the child's father, Michael, custody of Eva and ordered that Rebelo return the child to them? This is the same court that awarded custody to Carlos Rebelo on the information that only he had given them. Is it raising any alarm bells for you on the kind of work and background checks that the court needs to be doing?
Indeed. So a lot of collateral information has to be gathered. One cannot take evidence or information from a single party, and a lot of more intensive work needs to be done. So a statutory worker, case worker, would be assigned to the case to make home visits, to do an interactional analysis. When we talk about interactional analysis between the child and the person that has requested for custody, but also including the other parties from whom the custody would be removed, to ascertain and establish the kind of relationship the child has with the different parties, and to do a risk assessment. So to actually go out and make a home visit to assess the situation, the circumstances. But when we talk about collateral information, even speaking to all other people that are relevant to this case, the other caregivers, whether it's the school, whether it's the ECD facility. So I'm not sure if due diligence was followed by the court, but it's clearly evident that if they had followed due diligence, we would not find the child in this precarious situation.
And more worrying as well, Dr. Omar, is the fact that once the court restored custody to the child's parents, it also ordered that Eva undergo a medical evaluation, and that is the point at which he disappeared with Eva.
Indeed. I mean, and of course, I think we understand that medical evaluations are standard procedures, but then that medical evaluation should have been done in the case when the child was handed over to Carlos, even at that point in time. So it is a standard norm, but it seems that once again, those processes were not followed through.
Aphelele, I want to bring you back into the discussion because you, of course, were the one to be in touch with Carlos Rebelo. What does he tell you about the allegations and the descriptions of him as a kidnapper who is on the run?
Michelle, he made it clear that this is not a kidnapping, according to him, and that he is not a kidnapper. He told me that he is doing what is in the best interest of the child, and that he cares deeply for this child, and that outside of God, he's the only person that actually cares for this child. So the allegations of kidnapping and him not treating this child well, according to him, are not accurate. And in fact, they are false.
And I understand the reason why he wanted to have this discussion with you over a WhatsApp call is because WhatsApp calls are particularly difficult to trace. Aphelele, what are police telling you about the work that they are now doing to try and find and bring Eva back home?
The police have told me that they are busy with the investigation and that they cannot comment on an active kidnapping.
Dr. Shaheda Omar, go ahead.
I just want to say, Carlos Rebelo seems to be out of touch with reality. There's gross distortions on his part where he's, seeking divine powers and holding himself so self-righteous. I think there's a gross distortion here where he believes that what he's doing is right and taking the law into his own hands and taking charge of a child who is clearly at risk and in need of care.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that Aphelele writes in one of the articles on News 24 is this quote from him. She is in the company of her favorite person who cares for her infinitely more than me. Only God can care more for Eva's well-being. And that's what you're talking about, Dr. Omar, this gross distortion of reality.
Indeed.
So Dr. Omar, you know, where to from here? It's probably one of the most bizarre stories of child abduction. Are we still saying alleged child abduction at this stage?
Well, it can't be alleged because he's out on the run. He's already transgressed the law. So it's not alleged. It's the reality panning itself out, and he's on the run because he's actually trying to avoid any kind of contact with the authorities. It's definitely not alleged. He is guilty as charged, certainly. I think the criminal charges need to be laid, and there needs to be stringent measures on tracking and tracing him ASAP.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are inducing further trauma to this child, which one cannot even begin to think on the impact, on the long-term implications of this on the child's trajectory.
Aphelele, you've obviously been in contact with Eva's parents. I can't imagine for them, having not seen her for this long, that they are in good shape at all. They've obviously done what they can within their means to try and find and bring their child back home. What are they telling you?
I spoke to Eva's mother yesterday, Laura. She is completely devastated by the fact that she has not seen her daughter in 3 months. She expressed that she has not been sleeping, she has not been eating, and was actually comforted by the fact that I told her that I had spoken to Eva. And that's when she alerted me that Carlos had blocked her on WhatsApp, and she had no way of contacting Carlos at this point.
And do you have plans to be in contact with him at any stage?
Carlos?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been speaking to him. He's been asking for the article that I wrote about him. In his head, he is getting help from News 24. That is what he is telling me, that he reached out because he wanted to get help from News 24 to bring Eva back home and for them to both come back home.
Yeah, let's hope we see a swift resolution and that this child is brought back to her family safely. Aphelele Mbokotho is a News 24 reporter, and of course Dr. Shaheda Omar is the director of the Teddy Bear Clinic. To both of our guests, thanks very much indeed for joining us.